In a world, there was a podcast, and that podcast was the Proteus Podcast. Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, August 24th, 2016. We are the Proteus Podcast. My name is Jacob.
And I'm Danielle.
And I'm Max. I'm the smelly, unwashed gypsy from down the street. I'll be the guest today.
That's right. Woo! For the first time ever, we have a guest.
I don't know how we did that. I think Gypsy's like indoors every now and then, and that's how we got Max.
Yeah, it was a trip the entire time, you know.
Well, he baited me. He said, come here, little boy, would you like a beer? And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I'm on this radio show, so here I am.
One thing led to another, and you became a famous internet podcaster.
I didn't know that...
For
that
certain
gypsies
values of the word
so,
famous.
I didn't know that gypsies were so easily bought with beer.
As it turns out, lots of people are easily bought with beer.
Being a gypsy has very little to do with it.
Okay. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing well. Things are just getting better and better.
Oh, that's good. Because for me, things have just been one disappointment after another.
Ah, yes. The bitter, sour taste of disappointment.
Yeah. But more on that later. Hey, Max.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
I've been better and I've been worse. I'm thinking about putting a canoe in the back of my truck, though, if it keeps raining in this segment of Texas. I'm not prepared to deal with this. And I don't have gills either, or webbed feet.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So West Texas, where Alpine is at, the arid plateaus, so to speak, has been rather wet lately.
Let me put it to you like this. We got both frogs and mushrooms. This is not your typical desert situation.
That's not normal. We're not used to that.
You know why, don't you?
Something to do with a tropical depression or a suspended front. I'm not a meteorologist, but I've heard that.
But I can say words that sound good like that. Cumulus.
No. Cumulus. Stratus. Stratocirrus.
I think it's because I'm coming down next week.
Inversion front, you know.
Well, we do need the moisture so you can stay all week.
Yeah, because, Seattle's not getting any rain.
Oh, congratulations. A day in Seattle with sunshine is a myth.
I'll bet they're happy about that.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are happy about it, but in reality, it doesn't rain as much in Seattle as what people believe.
Yeah, I read somewhere that New York City has more rainy days on average than Seattle does.
As does Portland, Oregon.
Good for them. I'm sure they're happy with themselves.
But, yeah, the weather's gorgeous here. We experienced high 70s, low 80s today.
Oh, my goodness. You must be burning up.
So that's basically what we've been getting, and we're like, oh, thank God, it's so cool and nice.
Yeah, so I plan on, going down to Texas and being like, oh, look, moisture. Which is weird.
Yeah, don't steal it, though. We need it. We'll take every drop we can get. And any of it that they don't want over in Louisiana, they can ship over here.
That's right. Because...
Just start loading it in buckets and trucking it over.
They could build a water pipeline and just export all their swamp water, except I don't know that I would want swamp water in Texas.
I'm sure I can find a use for swamp water. We can put it in Houston.
You can pump it through Balmorhea and let them filter
No, that would ruin the water there is quite nice. I just, the swamp water's for,
we can use the swamp water to resubmerge the city of Houston.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a good use for it.
Like I said, I can find a use for swamp water in Texas.
So you are not experiencing the disappointment with all the rain?
No, every time it's rainy, I'm virtually giddy.
Yeah, that's how I am here. It's like it rains, and everyone's like, why are you so happy? I'm like, it's raining. It's a gift.
You have no idea how
it's because I'm from Texas, damn it. We're not used to this.
Yeah. Well, Houston, all the
True, I suppose.
But Alpine, where I like to, where it's like my spiritual home, no rain.
Yeah.
When it rained in Alpine, it was like, let's all run outsid and stand in it.
Run outside and roll around in the yard.
I have a vivid childhood memory, if I might chime in here, and I don't want to be too long-winded. When I was a kid, approximately 1989, I was born in 86, I was walking on the bridge on 5th Street, the main one. Danielle's familiar with it. The other listeners, all 10 of them may not be so familiar. anyways, we had a rain and the creek runs and flashes quite vigorously. Well, some fellows decided to go out, and I think on a dare and maybe a 12-pack of beer later, got some sort of raft or boogie board, and they proceeded to try and navigate the creek as far as they could. And I don't think they got killed. I think they got a little torn up. The guy was in a 3/4 wetsuit. And I remember walking across the bridge with my dad with my little, Inspector Gadget trench coat on and going, that's a stupid thing to do, but it's kind of entertaining. And this was years before Jackass or any of that came out. And it was a really vivid memory. And most people don't believe me, but anyways, that's my 10 cents there.
No.
See,
here's what I learned about Alpine. Oh,
that someone would have a boogie board and wetsuit out here in the desert. It's like, this is the only place in the desert where that would make sense. Because you're only a few hours drive away from, Lake Amistad or the Balmorhea Pond and all that. So there's legitimate reasons to own a boogie board and wetsuit in Alpine, even though it doesn't seem right.
Actually, I think it's more along the lines of kid signs up to go to college. Kid is told, yeah, there's this place called Balmorhea, short drive where you can do all your watering stuff.
Right.
Kid moves to Alpine without ever being to Alpine, brings their wetsuit and boogie board and everything, expecting a lake to be nearby, and then has this sitting in their dorm for the next 2 years.
Sounds about right.
But I believe you, Max.
It was that. You know what? That was the same year. I'll have another one. I went to the city pool when my parents would take me forcibly for swimming lessons. They took me to the pool earlier in the morning, and we get there, and it's the one day I kind of wanted to swim. Maybe it was because of the last day, and then I would quote unquote graduate from this Nazi death camp swim program that they enrolled me in.
It's drown-proofing.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so I get to the pool, and they go, "Well, no, you can't get in the pool." And I'm going, "No, I want to get in the pool." And they said, "Well, you can't." And they had guys in there with long nets, and it had rained so much that year. And then the rain had I guess watered down the chlorine in the pool. It's an outdoor pool there at the city park. It was full of salamanders and frogs, and they were in there having an amphibian rodeo of sorts, getting them out, trying to get them out so they didn't get caught in the drainage or get sucked up or mutilated.
One of those difficult things to clean.
And I just thought that's insane, and no one would believe me, and I wouldn't believe it unless I had seen it. So,
isn't that one of the plagues God sent down upon Egypt?
Frogs.
I don't know, but this isn't Egypt.
Something.
I don't mind the frogs.
I don't mind the frogs.
Well, people have referred to Alpine as bumfuck Egypt.
Well,
Egypt. There's this. No, that's not even.
Yeah.
We have a brewery now. We can't be that bumfuck.
We're practically civilized. We have both a brewery and more than 2 food wagons.
We have. You know what? No, let me think. There's the original. There's the cow dog. There's the one I went to tonight. We have a Thai food wagon that's open sometimes.
Its name is a weird Mexican pun.
We have we have the Cuban by the drinking establishment there, the German man that's been shanghaied out here that owns a bar, and then there's one more, and I just can't think of the name. So we have no less than 5 food trucks.
We're just rife with food trucks now.
Oh no, we have the healthy food truck too. So we have 6. We have 6 food trucks in a town of 5,500, 6,000 people.
So you could basically
that's like a food truck for every 1,000 people. That's insane. That's
a pretty good ratio of food trucks to people, to be honest.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's good. So I'm going to bring us back to disappointment.
Oh darn!
No, please.
I love being disappointed.
I know.
I lied. I don't love being disappointed.
Well, I think that this disappointment will not come as a surprise to either of you. I spent my weekend watching all the recent DC films.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and, yeah.
Well, those 2, because that's for the recent ones.
And I have to say...
What, you didn't rewatch the Green Lantern?
God, I went into this with, the lowest expectations you could imagine.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's good these days in movies,
And still walked out feeling like I lost money.
Oh.
Wow. I didn't feel like I'd lost money, but I didn't feel like I'd really gained anything. It was kind of like if I give you a 10 and you give me 2 5s, it's like, okay.
So, let's start with Batman v Superman.
Okay.
And explain, I want to say that people have been saying, were telling me going into it, It's okay, but Ben Affleck does a pretty good Batman.
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
You don't like his Batman?
No.
I would say that he doesn't do a good Batman. He does a pretty okay Batman.
I was spoiled after Batman Begins when they had, who was it, Christian Bale?
Christian Bale, yeah.
After he did that, I was spoiled. I could not deal with another modern day Batman.
You know, Christian Bale did a decent job, except for the cancer voice.
Hey, everybody loves a good cancer voice.
It's just so forced. But I have a theory about that, but I'll get to that in a moment. But Ben Affleck Batman has to be the stupidest, most gullible Batman in all the multiverse of DC.
Yeah, well, he's sad Batman too. Like, they weren't kidding when they weren't wrong when they memed the shit out of him when they first showed the picture of him looking all frowny and shit. Sad fat Batman.
Sad fat Batman.
Like he's all depressed and shit because he apparently lost Robin somewhere, and he uses guns, and he's mean and grouchy, and
so he's more realistic.
Kills people,
probably
branding them. Well, I think that's part of it. So, I think that this is Zack Snyder's fault too.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's doubling down on the dark and morose version of comics.
Yeah, I think that he brought a little bit too much realism into it.
Which is kind of a weird thing to say, because the Christian Bale Batman series had a pretty hefty dose of realism in it.
It was a dark movie.
True.
It was not a light and happy movie at all. Well,
but at the same time, like, it's not so much that he brought too much realism, is he brought too much grit. I mean, that's what they've been calling it. This is just this gritty, depressing, downer version of superhero stuff.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a comic book world. And then when comic book things happened, I had a really hard time believing it.
Yeah, like the fights in Batman vs. Superman, I had a huge problem with. And I described them as they're all Dragon Ball Z fights. It's like a lot of screaming, and then a bunch of blurry shit happens, and then there's more screaming.
Right.
What do you mean, like people get killed and then they come back like 6 or 7 times? Or
not like that, but like, someone goes to punch somebody, and it's just this flurry of movement, and because it's like, it was Superman versus Apocalypse?
So, no, not Apocalypse, Doomsday.
Oh, right.
Just fighting Doomsday, big spiky bastard.
Yeah, well, the point is you know, everything's just this big blur, and somebody gets punched, and it's a blur, and you don't really... It's something that a lot of people have talked about, is you lose your audience you don't know where you're at in the fight, and it's just a bunch of crap going on. It's the same problem people have with shaky cam, using a shitty camera work to cover up the fact that you can't choreograph a fight and your actors suck at play fighting.
So I will say this, and it may be, and I think what you just nailed on is why everyone likes the Wonder Woman parts of that big fight, is because when Wonder Woman's involved, they slow it down. So
that you can admire Wonder Woman's boobs.
Yeah, her form, her body, whichever.
Isn't that what she's all about? I mean...
Well, she's about truth and justice.
Well, I mean, okay. Truth and justice.
Yeah.
I mean, let's... Come on now. But yeah, Gal Gadot, everyone's like, Gal Gadot, amazing badass Wonder Woman. And it's like, no shit, you can actually see what she's doing. And then when she gets blasted like 4 city blocks away, they have this shot of her smiling and standing back up to go back and fight this monster.
Yeah.
Makes anyone look like a badass if you can see what they're doing and they actually seem like a badass.
Yeah. And like, just like the framing of stuff, like towards the end when we're going to spoil this for Max because he hasn't seen it.
I probably won't go and see it though.
But like when Superman picks up the spear and flies into Doomsday, like the way the camera follows him through that shot seems super klutzy and like awkward for some reason.
Yeah, it's like, what's he doing again?
It pans around him. It's doing like this weird combination of Matrix shit. And it's, the camera's moving around him while he does all this stuff. And like trying to convey a sense of like incredible speed and things, but somehow in doing that they got the exact opposite. Like he seems like he's just sort of I'm gonna go get this pointy stick, I'm gonna fly over here and poke the bad guy with it.
Yeah, I just feel that with Superman, like especially that character, Zack Snyder, DC doesn't know what to doesn't understand what to do with Superman.
Yeah, well, DC screwed up about 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 40 years ago with Superman, because they kept tacking new powers onto Superman over the decades. To the point where
that's not DC's fault. Well, that's not the movie's fault.
It's not the movie's fault, but...
And it's way before 40 years.
But over the last forever, they've tacked so many powers onto Superman, he's a hard character to write a good story for.
Well, I think if you focus in on... Here's a guy who's an alien, who's as powerful as a god, but trying to be a human, like trying to be a man, and trying to be a good man. If they focus on that aspect, I think then you get a good Superman movie.
Yeah, which is the exact opposite of most. Yeah, go ahead. But that's the exact opposite of most superhero movies, because most of the time you want to see the hero being the superhero. But with Superman, because he's so infinitely powerful, seeing him trying to fit in is what actually makes the character interesting.
Right. And do more of the Clark Kent.
Yeah, and they fall into this thing because everyone wants to see the hero, but Superman being so insanely powerful, and it forces them into the Superman trope of the only thing you can beat Superman with is kryptonite. And everybody knows that, and it just it's a horrendous crutch for the whole concept of Superman. It's the only way anybody can fight him.
And I think that's where the big failure of Lex Luthor in this film is.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. That makes me angry and upset in a dozen different ways.
Well, but that's exactly my point. Instead of having this calculating villain, because the thing about Lex Luthor and the best iterations of Lex Luthor is that the challenges he gives to Superman aren't challenges of I'm gonna force you to blow up half the city. Or I'm gonna kill you with this doomsday monster. It's I'm gonna make you do a choice.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a moral choice. How are you going to do? Because if you choose wrong, if you choose your alien badass ways, everyone's gonna hate you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be spurned. And with the way that DC is doing their stories, they just can't get that. Instead, we have Jesse Eisenberg playing a mix of insane asylum guy and his role he had in the Facebook movie.
Yeah.
And it's
that was exactly what that was. It was not Lex Luthor. It was it was Facebook guy and insane asylum.
Leonardo DiCaprio and Shutter Island.
Sure, good description there.
What do you think, Max? Not having seen the film,
I'm hesitant. What's that old saying? Something about beating a dead horse.
Sounds about right.
And that's kind of where it
falls.
Look,
a dead horse! Quick, kill it!
And I feel like the people who produced this movie?
DC something
or other. I mean, I really kind of feel like they're beating the proverbial dead horse, and it's kind of sad. It's a great storyline. What was the old Superman? The one that came out old. I say old.
Christopher Reeves.
No, there was that one, and there was a more recent one that they did, and it was more along the traditional storyline. And
no,
I thought they.
Yeah, you're right.
I thought they did a fairly decent job in it.
The Superman Returns, where Kevin Spacey was.
That's it. That's where he's Lex Luthor. I enjoyed him as Lex Luthor.
I really did too. I thought Spacey did a fantastic job as Luthor in that.
That wasn't Spacey, was it?
Yeah, same guy from House of Cards
with the piano.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but I thought they did an all right job. I recall a humorous bit where he's sick and they take him to the hospital and they're trying to shock him, and he ruins, because he's Superman, he ruins the defibrillator machine, and they're trying to poke him with these needles, and the needles don't work, and it's kind of this slice of dark humor, oh no, we can't save him because he's an alien. And that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, there was good parts in that movie. I mean, it was panned by critics as well, but I thought it was a better movie than the most recent two Supermans.
I agree.
Because it did have, some of the moral questions. He's building Lex Luthor's building a giant kryptonite island because his land is the one thing they're not making anything anymore. And, what do? Do you let this island kill the people, or do you sacrifice yourself to get rid of it, and so on and so on? it was a better problem than the others. Still hung on the kryptonite trope, but it was a less ridiculous problem in some regards.
It was well done, though.
I liked that movie better.
Yeah, I think
with
I can
all of
agree
its
with
failings
you there. And so yeah, Batman v Superman, dumb Batman.
Yeah. Although the part in that where he comes into the to rescue the lady, and Alfred drops him off on the whatever floor from the Batwing thing.
Right.
That was a great scene.
Where he's sequence. Like, "I'm a friend of your son's."
Yeah.
And she's like
the whole him just kicking all the bad guys' ass in there was great.
Yeah, that wasn't bad, but it's like one gem.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pick, that's the one good part of that movie.
But that was like the most Batman that the entire film had.
Yeah, that was the most Batman in the whole movie. And they needed more of that and less of Jesse Eisenberg cackling.
I have a theory, and I know that Snyder or whoever already said that this isn't the case, but I still don't think that Ben Affleck's Batman is actually Batman. I think he's actually Deathstroke, and that Alfred is his butler Pennyworth.
Okay, sounds. I'm too far gone from those comics to have
Green
commentary
Money,
on that
something
subject.
like that. Anyway, I'll move on.
Moving on to the other movie.
My other disappointment in Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad is a much harder nut to crack, although it is not as obviously bad to me.
Yeah.
There was plenty of that movie that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
There's just there's little odds and ends throughout. You're like, I wish they hadn't, that or something, It was heavily oversold on the Joker, is I think the main problem it's suffering from.
And then he's barely there.
And then he's barely in it. Like 2/3 of the trailer is the Joker, and then he's barely in the movie, and he turns out he sort of laughs like the Affleck duck. And you're just like, no, I'm sorry. Not my thing.
Have you seen Suicide Squad, Max?
No, I haven't, and I don't think that I'm going to go and see it. I don't know that I have a formative opinion on it, so I'm gonna stay out of this one.
Well, we're still going to ask you for your opinion.
I probably wouldn't. I respect Jake's opinion in most things, and so I'm going to have to probably park in his camp.
Did you at least see the trailer for it?
I saw part of it.
Okay, so you get the gist of where.
Well, there was a dumpster fire down the street, and I really wanted to catch that.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us what you thought.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my problem with it kind of ties in with the unbelievability of these villains.
Yeah.
Like they're all supposed to be like hardcore villains, right?
Right.
Admittedly, Deadshot is like they played the iteration of him where he has a heart of gold because it's Will Smith.
Yeah.
But the part where they're like, okay, like Rick Flag goes, hey, Smash, you guys can go. And Captain Boomerang just like bolts.
Right.
Every one of them should have bolted.
Yeah.
There is no reason why any of them would have stayed around from like a comic book's perspective.
The only thing I can think of in that situation is where they're at. It's like, okay, I can bolt, but I'm not sure I can get out of here by myself. Yeah, they're badass, but it's a heck of a situation.
They're all highly skilled individuals.
Yeah, But I think that was the point they were trying to prove there is, the smarter of these villains. Like, yeah, I'm not leaving yet because we walked in here as a group, and I'd kind of like to at least be able to get back out.
Yeah, I guess that would be... And I may be too much harking. I love the Suicide Squad comics because, like, none of these characters really have redeemable traits.
Right.
They're villains being forced to do heroic things.
Yeah.
And with the Harley Quinn Like, I like the portrayal of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I think she did an admirable job on the character.
But, like, right there where, like, she decided to come back because she thought that the Joker was dead.
Yeah.
I was like, no. She, if anything, would be wanting to kill Rick Flag and make sure that the other person's dead.
Yeah.
Amanda Waller.
Yeah, Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller, one of the most fantastically unlikable good guy characters.
Yeah, great anti-hero.
Yeah, like... if you've watched The Arrow and those other shows, and the shows that she shows up in the DC universe, or whatever they're calling it, like, everyone they've got to play her, you're just like, I really despise that character.
Yeah.
Which says a lot for the people playing her, because she's super unlikable, but she's still the good guy. You're like, wow, I really just wish this wasn't.
And so I do... like, in relation to the TV shows, right? I honestly prefer the TV show versions of these characters and everything
to an extent. Some of them, yeah.
And so, anyway, lots of disappointment.
There was lots of stuff I really enjoyed about Suicide Squad, though. Lots of little bits that are just like, ha, that was cool. I like that. Like when the fire guy, whose name I never really caught.
Diablo,
when he turns into the Aztec god of fire and pops out and is like, what now, bitch? You're like, ha, exactly.
No, that was good. There were some good moments to it.
That's what that was the thing about that movie, is because there were so many little good parts and so many little bad parts, it all overall worked out to where I couldn't pick out what made that movie bad. I couldn't call it a bad movie. It was an enjoyable movie in a lot of regards. And it just has little nitpicks all through it.
I think that one of the reasons why they did a lot of reshoots for Suicide Squad is that they realized they needed to make it a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah. I think a lot of the studios,
step away
after
from the Zack Snyder
did
approach.
So well, they were like, whoa, a violent but funny movie can do good?
Well, it's not just that. Like, Batman v Superman almost universally panned, right?
Yeah.
And I bet you that one of the reasons why they did so many reshoots for Suicide Squad was because they needed to lighten it up a bit.
Yeah.
And they're like, it was probably too close to the same type of imagery and feel that Batman v Superman had, and they were like, this really isn't working for us.
Yeah. And, and it's an entirely different, type of characters too, and, the bright colors and ridiculous bubblegum bullshit in there definitely doesn't fit with the dark and gravelly Zack Snyder version of these other things.
All right, Max.
Yeah.
Lightning round.
3
minutes, you pick.
I pick? Well,
yes.
I'll tell you, I saw a movie the other day on DVD that came out in 2015, and Jake has not seen it, he said. I don't know if you've seen it. It's with Benicio del Toro. It's actually filmed in and around El Paso and Ciudad Juarez and in Arizona and Nogales, and it's called Sicario, which is the Spanish for assassin. And,
I've seen that.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I thought it was an outstanding movie. It's gritty. It's realistic. It's about CIA and torture and what's that old proverb? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of political and charged in a way, but it's very well done. And as someone who's been to El Paso, it's kind of neat. Going, oh wow, yeah, I know exactly where that is. They filmed it here and there. And I would say that it's not being an intelligence man, but I would say it's probably a fairly realistic look at things as a whole.
I very much enjoyed that. I think it was one of Benicio del Toro's better forays in recent years.
Well, he kind of straddles the line, and we don't. I think at one point he mentions he's a prosecutor in the movie, which could be a code word for puller of toenails and blowtorching someone's ear off. But you don't really know his background other than that he's involved in some way and his family's been murdered, and he's kind of at it from the revenge angle. But the U.S. government figures out, hey, this guy's got skills, we can use him, we just point him in the right direction, and he clears a path for us. So
yeah,
I really need to get that movie watched.
it's not a bad movie. I think it would be worth your while. There's actually some dark humor in it, and I'll touch on this. You remember the part where they use the young FBI lady as bait, and there's a corrupt Phoenix policeman, of which I'm sure that there are many, and so he's in the car, he's beat to a pulp, and he's sitting there, and they're trying to get him to rat on his guys and get information, and so they grab him, and they grab him in the ear, behind the eye, which is a very painful way to be grabbed. I found out playing on myself. If I grab right on my, oh man, that kind of hurts. Somebody really grabbed you on your eyelid there and twisted. That hurts like a motherfucker. If I'm allowed to say that.
I just have this image of you, Max, now doing this to yourself.
Well, I just tried it. I saw it in the movie, and I thought
hurts.
that can't be painful. So Benicio del Toro, he's the bird dog. He's the go getter, and so they're trying to get him to. They're playing the good cop bad cop game, trying to get him to give up on these fellows. And Josh Brolin's character, who's the handler. He looks at this policeman, and I don't remember his name, and he says, "You know what the beauty of all this is?" In a very matter-of-fact, dry manner, and the policeman's kind of like half crying, and he thinks he's going to die. He goes, "No, I don't think I do." He says, "You're beat to a pulp, man. What's a few more fucking scratches on you?" And at that point, Benicio del Toro's character, I think his name in the movie is Alejandro. His code name is Medellin. Grabs him, in the ear, and grabs him and makes him scream and cry like a little girl, but. That little slice of dark humor, I just really appealed to me. Anyways, that's my 10 cents there.
And we learn a little bit more about Max.
Well, there's many layers.
There's always a good place for dark humor, wet humor.
After having been a junior enlisted man in the Marine Corps, I think my sense of dark humor has compounded exponentially in some ways.
It's really broadened your horizons.
It's really broadened my horizons, Jake. Anyways.
Anyways,
you can't be. Oh wait, that's the army.
Yeah,
so Jake.
Yes.
How jaded are you? Scale 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how jaded am I? I'm all the way down to like a 3.5 today.
3.5.
3.5.
Wow.
It was like a 5 when I woke up, but things got better.
Max.
I'd say I'm comfortably in the middle. I'm probably a 4.5 to a 5 all day long. But the rain helped. I'm okay. It kind of mellows me out.
Yeah.
On the fulcrum.
Right on the fulcrum.
Which is a good place to be.
All right. I'm still pretty jaded this week. I'm still at 6, maybe 7.
Go back and watch a movie you like.
That's a good way to look at it.
Well, on top of it, I also watched Ghostbusters this weekend.
You shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake.
I heard that was absolute unadulterated horseshit, the new one.
It has some good parts to it, but
I don't believe you.
No, it really does. But
Fine.
The majority of it is just bridesmaids with proton packs.
Wow.
I like the original, the ones with Bill Murray, those ones in the 80s.
Movies.
To me, those are classics. I watched those as a kid, and I'll always love them.
If I'm somewhere, like in a hotel, once every 2 or 3 years, flipping through channels and Ghostbusters is on, I watch Ghostbusters.
I thought you were going to go a different direction with that. But I know you better than that, Jake.
And that's admittedly, they
Hazards
could
of
have...
not having normal television.
I think that they, and I don't want to derail us too far, but they basically took a great concept, and instead of continuing it...
They're like, let's take a left turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah. All right. Back to like a whole another 30-minute rant.
So do you have a quote for today?
Yeah, but mine goes last.
Oh, okay. I picked this one because it doesn't apply to anything. This is from the great, or possibly not great, Hunter S. Thompson, depending on your opinion. But it's when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro.
All right.
I feel like that applies to my life on a regular basis for some reason.
Max, do you have a quote?
Do I have a quote? Don't get caught. That was what I learned as a junior enlisted man. I said, what's the motto of the Marine Corps? Isn't it, Semper Fidelis? And I went, no, sir, it's called Don't Get Caught. And have a really good alibi if you do.
Was that your drill sergeant?
No, I didn't learn that in boot camp. I learned that as an operating man, a man in the operating forces. And I thought, well, there's what you can do it by the book and it'll never get done, or you can fly under the radar and get it done. You just don't get caught.
There you go.
Mine is from Stan Lee, because why not use the the master of Marvel to end a podcast primarily about DC movies.
There you go. That's a good format.
Are you ready?
Go for it. Hit me.
Enough said.
Nailed it. And with that, I've been Jacob.
And I'm Danielle.
And I'm the guest, Smelly Gypsy, Max.
And we have been the Proteus Podcast. Good night, everyone.